name is Alpa Shah, and I'm the founder director of Future Leaders Internship Program. And what we do is we develop career mindset and career solution for students as young as 15 years of age. And why we do this is we really want them to identify their career interests and career passion. So through that identification, they are then able to, set their goals and identify what careers they want to go to.
Right.
So again, NGOs have so many various aspects.
Yeah.
It could be either voluntary services or it could be human resource. If it's a big NGO, they could also have finance. So first and foremost is to have that awareness in students. So if the student is aware of NGO or the possibilities of the careers, then we do place the students in terms of work experience with the NGO. Because working with,
I guess a sort of middleman between the students and potential work careers.
what we do is we really we fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So academics, they come up with academic programs and curriculums, and corporates, they're always targeting the older students, which are the undergrads.
Yeah.
So what happens with the high school students?
Yeah.
They are completely lost in terms of their career direction. So we go in, we are solution providers. We fill in the gaps where the academics are not able to fill in terms of careers. Once they have identified, then at least they have this. At the moment, there's not much awareness of working in NGOs. What students do is they just go into NGOs to do CSR, kind of activities, and really to do that community service that they are required to do. But providing that community service and working is very different. So we would then encourage them to go and have work experience, or rather we would find work placement through which they can experience what is it working like in an NGO, how do NGOs work, what's the whole environment doing, and the ecosystem. So that gives them real hands-on.
That's really gets the ground and the core of what they want to do. It
Yes.
really helps them, and I think that age is the part where you're thinking what you really want to do, And
Yeah.
so and okay, so in terms of the seminars that you conducted just now, just generally what is it that NGO needs in terms of talent? Like what kind of talent, in a nutshell, do you think most NGOs need?
Every NGOs, it depends on each NGO's individual nature of service that they are providing. So obviously the talent would be catered to that kind of requirements, right? So but generally speaking, be it NGO or be it traditional work, companies or corporates, the general criteria of recruiting a talent is always passionate people or passionate individuals, and individuals who are committed and dedicated. Right? So that is the general criteria of recruiting any talent. But NGO goes a step forward because you're dealing with different criteria, right? So you need to have mental stability as well. You need to have that persistence, because if you're working with NGOs, say for example you're seeking out for funds, that's the most difficult part for NGO, to seek out for funds. So what kind of quality are you looking for your talent in terms of if they are going to be involved in financing or fundraising activities? So obviously you're looking at qualities where the talent needs to be persistent. So being persistent is not everybody would have that kind of quality, right? So depending on the roles that a NGO is recruiting for, it definitely the list of, in terms of the requirements or the quality a talent would have, it definitely adds on and it keeps increasing. So broadly speaking, obviously every candidate that anybody recruits would necessarily need to have the collaborative mindset. So if we are talking about the 21st century work skills, right, we are talking about collaborative mindset, we are talking about agility to learn, we are talking about teamwork, so those kind of things that you would normally look for a talent or look in a talent when you're recruiting. But as I said, if you are looking for specific roles, then obviously that list
You have to look at
yes.
definitely. Okay, so in terms of what is the clear differences between in terms of attraction between an MNC and an NGO? What's the clear difference if I'm a student and I'm looking at the options? What are the clear differences between me working for an NGO and me working for an MNC?
So obviously, as they say, right, that the eyes eat first and then the mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. So it again boils down to that it's always the eyes that sees first. So um, when they look into MNCs and when we look into NGOs, so obviously the first is the glamour bit. Then they look into the opportunities in terms of what kind of strategic planning do they have in terms of career progression.
Yeah.
Then of course the other is more committed towards, more driven towards contributing. Then that all those materialistic things doesn't really imply or matter to the individual. So those people who are really applying for positions for NGO, I believe it really comes for them from within, that they want to contribute, they want to make a difference. So those are the type of candidates that they would apply. Of course, during the seminar, there were stories which were shared that people, when they come in, they're not even sure where are they applying and what they are coming, which NGO they are coming in for interview. So you do have a combination of those kind of people, but majoritarily, if you get the right fit, those are the people who really want to make a difference.
In coming years would evolve in terms of the perception, and that will also lead to a better involvement of youth or future students in that area.
I think if we are talking about perception, right, if I remember, I think it all started with UN.
Yeah.
United Nations, when they started, that's when the whole glam thing associated with NGOs started as well. So if you talk about UN, we talk about WWF, it's because it is internationally recognized, and I mean it's internationally
Endorsed too,
and endorsed and existed. It exists internationally. So obviously there is that attraction there to create that acquaintance with an international body. In terms of perception of Malaysian NGOs, I believe there are a couple of Malaysian NGOs which are also looked highly upon, right? But I feel it's not about Malaysian NGOs or international NGOs. Of course, international NGOs comes with additional thing of stability, and they feel secure because they've been there for many years. But how Malaysian NGOs could also follow the best practices of international NGOs. They may not be able to be present at various locations across the world, but what they can practice is the best practices of these international NGOs, and they can try replicate those kind of things. So even if you are just local Malaysian based, but you could proudly say that yes, we've been following best practices, and then when candidates comes in for interviews and all that, they realize that yes, what the difference is just about being present or being existent in many various locations, but the work culture is what something the local NGOs could also offer. So it's more about the quality of the work environment that you create, and through that then you're creating that impression and
change
in mindset and things like that.
Completely agree. So the last question would be, what are the obstacles faced by NGOs and employees in Malaysia, particularly in attracting them?
In terms of attracting talent, as we discussed during the seminar, right? It's through the design thinking process. I think the discussion went on, and it was more of NGOs being in the position of the candidates, and it being in the position of the candidates, then it's a human-centered approach. They are then able to identify what are the users' needs. I think until now it's more like the candidates are not attracted and things like that. But then again, whether the NGOs have dived deep down and tried to analyze what the users need and what the users' wants are, and then trying to come up with solutions focused on that. I think if that is done, or gradually that seeps in, then there will be much more better policies and much more better opportunities for them to be able to attract talents towards them, because they are creating something which the talent wants, and not creating something or pushing something which they've already created for the talents. So it's kind of playing a reverse role.
Yeah, that generates the whole solution and driving them into the NGOs.
Right. Yeah. So that trying to come up with solutions and then trying to put forward something which they may want to bite.
On the insurance one for PIS. Human Resource Director for RSPO. RSPO is an environmental not-for-profit organization where we work with the palm oil industry, with the entire supply chain, to ensure that sustainable best practices are practiced by everyone, right? I've been with them for 4 years now, and I think the biggest challenge that I have found is finding the right talent. Not so much for skills, but more on the attitude of people. Because for someone to work in a not-for-profit organization, you always take less than what a profit organization pays. Okay, well, salary-wise, benefit-wise as well, right? And it takes people who believe or also who have the same vision, who are willing to take on those positions and stick on for a few years. Some people, of course, come in just as it's a stepping stone for them, and but there are people who've been there from the time we started, and they're there because they believe that they can make a difference. That in their own small way, they make a difference to the entire ecosystem. Like for me personally, I had 2 job options that I got headhunted for RSPO. One position was offering me the exact salary I wanted, and of course RSPO was salaries RSPO gave was 16% lower than what I was being offered elsewhere. So, the only reason why I jumped at the opportunity of working with RSPO is because I've always, since I was young, from the time I was young, always had a passion in tigers, tiger conservation. And in fact, WWF was supposed to be my dream job, tiger conservation. And when I read up on about RSPO, I read up on what they do, and I sort of learned a little bit more about what they do. And of course, their affiliation with WWF, taking up this job became a no-brainer for me. So, yeah.
Do you think that the generation now do share the same sentiment in terms of either do they grow interest when they join the company, or do they already have the interest upon joining the company?
Well, with the management training program that we've started, right? I would say only 1 or 2 of the 10 people we took on already had the interest, right? And those were people who either came from parents who had built that interest in them, or because they had learned about something, or they had an innate passion. Like I had an innate passion for tigers.
Yeah.
I don't know where that passion came from. It's not like I say my parents kept tigers at home, right? But from the time I was very young, if I wanted a pet, it was supposed to be a tiger, right? So it's an innate passion. So I think we only had 2 people who were like that, and the rest of them built the. I don't know what it's called. Say the right word would be passion, but the interest. Right? The interest has now been built. A little fire has now been ignited. Not in all of them, I will still have to say, because I know some of them still haven't decided whether this is the kind of organization they want to be a part of. And I think that's because for them the bigger picture is something else. However, I'm glad to say that quite a few of them have now started to build that interest of wanting to stay on and wanting to make a difference.
I'm a lecturer with the Commonwealth University in KL. I enjoyed the session today. So basically the reason I came for today's session was I teach HR, but I don't see the application part of it. So this kind of session is basically for me to come and experience other people's experience, and to take it back to the classroom and share and say these are the things that which is happening out there. And furthermore, the design thinking process actually can be applied in many other fields as well, not necessarily in the recruitment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the good thing
Great.
that I had today.
Thank you.
Thank you.